Welcome to the Penny Z Show, where you get to learn how real people overcame real issues. Get ready to take notes and, most importantly, take action. Here's your host, Penny Z.
Welcome to the Penny Z Show, where we want to help people one person at a time. Our topics are real, relevant, and relatable. As you know, we're in a series called Overcoming My I'm Not Enough Story, or Feeling Less Than. And today I have an absolutely incredible guest. I am so excited to introduce you to her and so excited for her background. We have not had a guest on with this kind of background before. So welcome, Libby. I'm excited to have you on the Penny Z Show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, let me do a little bit of background so everybody knows a little bit about you.
Okay.
This is Libby Jason. She is a style expert and a confidence builder. Empowering fashion confidence for the ageless woman. That's me. Libby is an author of Style REinventionist, Fashion and Style Tips for the Ageless Woman. This book is available on Amazon, and she'll tell you more about how you can get her book as well as how you can reach her towards the end of our podcast. Libby's previous 13-year tabletop design company focused on mixing styles, patterns, and colors for her high-end referral-only clients, such as baseball Mark McGwire, music's Destiny Child, and California governor and senator, and some of their staff and cabinet members. Libby's transition from transforming tabletops to transforming women by helping her clients create a personal style, attract the business that they want, and step into their power on the stage. In addition to design, Libby previously co-owned a fashion boutique in Newport Beach, California, and she also has a background in skincare and cosmetics for over 22 years. Libby understands the client's overwhelmed with fashioned options. Oh boy, do I know that. I just want to pick two things in my closet and then stop. She helps them take the next step for an empowering presence, elevate your mindset, and feel visible and valuable at any age. Welcome, Libby. It is so exciting to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to connect with you. What you're doing for people and sharing your podcast is really, really valuable. So I just want to commend you for that.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. As we all know, and I think we all feel that at some point in time, whether it's a moment or a season or a lifetime, we all have stories and we all have experiences of not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy, not feeling less than. And I think part of it is until we start talking about it, people feel alone and they don't feel like they are connected or that they can share their story. And so I'm so honored that you're here to share your story and then share how you overcame, empowered yourself, also empower your clients and how that's brought to where you are today. So Libby, share a little bit of your backstory and how you identified your I'm Not Enough story.
I can do that. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I call myself a woman of God. I love the beach. I love my rescue dog. I'm a foodie. I love great restaurants and definitely love shopping, and I do it very well. And I love connecting with people. And but one thing I do find is that I can be networking. I can be with a lot of people, a lot of social situations. And then there's times where I just kind of need to pull back a little bit and be observer, because sometimes it's just a little bit too much overstimulation. And I think when I was growing up, I always wanted to belong. Be part of the group, be accepted, there's different seasons in our life. And as we do grow up, we find that there's places where we fit and places where we don't. And I remember having a conversation with someone and they said, well, you just want to be yourself. And I thought, who is that? I mean, I don't even know who myself is. And I was trying to find myself in so many different ways, and, some were good, some were not good. But I kind of went back to, do you remember when you were in school and there was the cafeteria? When I hope they still have cafeterias now, I don't know. But I remember having my tray with my food on it and going to the lunch table, and I was going to sit down, and then I'd get there and they're like, oh, this is saved for Sally's coming, and all this is taken. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I'd go to another table. Oh no, these are all saved. No, you can't sit here. You can't sit here. And it seemed like every place I was going, no, you can't sit here. You can't sit there. And I remember feeling like, well, where do I belong? And am I not part of the in crowd? Or is it how I look? Is it how all these things went on in my head. And I really came to realize it was really none of those things. It was, did I feel confident in myself? And I didn't. So one of the things that I did, I joined a drama class. And in the drama class, I could take all my self-expression, all my fun, all my everything. And it was like, okay, it's okay to be expressive. It's okay to do all of these things. And you could play a part and you could do all kinds of things. And I found I had a camaraderie of people. So I was part of a community. So the first thing I would say, if somebody is kind of struggling with, God, I'm not good enough, sharp enough, smart enough, pretty enough, thin enough, there's fill in the blank of enoughs. Find a place where you can connect and have a community of people. For me, it was my drama class, but it could be, ancient basket weaving. I don't know. It could be something, but you find a place where you can express yourself. I know for myself, I felt very valued because I felt like it was okay to be me and it was okay to express myself that way. So that was the one thing.
Yeah, I completely understand and relate. I had a very similar situation in the cafeteria. We moved around a lot when I was young, and moved around a lot most of my life, actually. And so it was always hard. I consider myself an introvert with extroverted tendencies. And
I like that.
I can be social, and I'm very authentic, and I like meeting people, and I know that I need people in my life, but there are times that I'm introverted and shy. Yeah. And as a child, I didn't have the self-confidence, much like you had shared with us just a few moments ago. And so I didn't have a lot of friends, and it was hard because when you'd move and go to another school, it took a while to build that group up, like you said, the people that you connect. And I would go into the cafeteria. I mean, I can feel it right now. I can feel it. I can feel my emotions just bubbling up, and walking in with my tray and looking around and going, there's nobody in here that I know. Sometimes that was my I'm not enough. And who do I sit with? Do I sit with myself, or do I try to sit with someone? So I completely relate to that feeling. And then I did the same thing. I went into dance. And dance was kind of my saving grace, so to speak, in the fact that I enjoyed it. I feel like I was relatively good, and I could make connection through that activity. So I completely understand what you were saying. So when you were going through this, did your parents know? Did you share? Who were some of the people around you? Was it just yourself, or were there other people or mentors or things that kind of helped you identify this and go through this? Or was this something you've just kind of worked through more as an adult?
I think it was a combination of a few things. And you mentioned that you went to a lot of different schools. I went to so many different schools. I was always the new girl. So I can totally relate to that. I think that was the one turning point, is getting into drama, because I started not only expressing myself, we also did a lot of pantomime. And you really need to know your own body, your own self. And it really is, getting into a character is really about your own personal vulnerability. And I think being vulnerable was very risky for me. I had a lot of trust issues, and that just really was a difficult thing. That kind of played out in a couple of different marriages that didn't quite work out as well as I had hoped. And I think it was just where I was. One particular person that I was married to, I was trying to be the enough wife, the enough person. So I found myself really pretty much of a doormat, and I, was going to make the lemon meringue pies and sew the curtains and do all the things, do all the task things, all the performance things to validate myself. And my ex-husband had an 18-month-old daughter. And so I was raising her. So I really tried to just throw myself into the role of being, the fabulous mother and wife that could do everything. And maybe that would fill that void for me. Maybe that would fill the hole. And realized that was not it. And so that relationship did not last. And I think what had happened is family, they do their best and they care about you and they love you. And I think they always thought, oh gosh, when in the world is Libby going to get it together? And I thought, I don't know. And at that point, I kind of flipped a little switch and I thought, you know what? Fine. I don't need anybody. And I went completely the other way and became so self-sufficient so that I never had to rely on anybody or anything else. I can do it myself. I'll take care of it myself. And I went really just whole hog with my career and everything to, it was accomplishment. It was titles. It was the recognition. It was all of those things. And maybe that would fill the void. It was all these external things. And some of the clients that I have now, I tell them, I said, I want to get into who you are, because just putting a great looking suit on you and a pair of high heels, it's not going to be it. It really isn't. It's finding out who you are in that. How do you express yourself through fashion? How do you express yourself through style? Let's kind of find out who you really are. So
Libby, how did you find you?
A couple of things I did. First of all, I did a lot of personal development and different courses. And if your listeners, if there's anybody that's a mom there and you think, gee, do I take the personal development course or take Johnny through soccer? Honestly, if you can do both, great, but don't neglect yourself and make sure you are consistently in some type of personal development, whether it's courses or a coach or masterminds or something where you are getting filled and your confidence builds up because you start to go, it's okay how I feel about this or that, because we're all the same. I mean, I have not met one woman where I go, whoa, boy, this is a real, that threw me a curveball. We're all the same. We all want to do our best, be recognized, be visible, be accepted, be loved. And it really takes some time to get that to where you may believe it up here, but do you believe it in your heart? And that's the transition part.
Absolutely, I agree. And actually, we are spinning off from the Penny Z Show, and we are starting in 2019 what's called Pennywise Empowerment Network, because I too believe, and I have been in personal growth and coaching and mastermind and mentorship program. And I think it's not only what you get, it's what you give as well.
Absolutely.
And so what we're doing is we're providing a network of a variety of coaches like yourself and other people who specialize in different categories so that women and possibly men, but women for sure, can come to the Pennywise Empowerment Network and be referred to absolutely incredible coaches and support systems and mentors, much like yourself. So that was a great segue. It's something we're actually going to start promoting. promoting. And so thank you for that plug. But
sure. Listen, anytime.
Yeah. No. Well, you mentioned personal development. Was there any other tools or anything else that helped you recognize your transition or your mindset shift?
Right.
And then I'd love to understand how you taking that power for yourself, like you were talking about, helps you then empower your clients.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I did a lot of journaling. Because when I couldn't necessarily express myself through a friend or a mentor, I found that through journaling, I could write and write and write. And as I said, I'm very faith-based, so that was my connection with God, and not in a, be on my knees and quiet. It was more like, God, here I am, I'm doing this, and can you help me with that? And it was a conversation with, where am I supposed to be? What's going on for me? And really in the journaling and in the reading, it helped to just elevate me a little bit more. The other thing I would say would be just recognizing more gratitude. I was very, why can't I fit in? Why can't I do this? And it became so much about me, instead of thinking, be grateful for what I have. What can I serve? What can I give? And that transition really has been a transition for my clients now, because what I found is when I was growing up and I was in my 20s or 30s, well, first of all, everything looks good when you're 20 years old because everything's firm and everything. And I have a waistline, and it was just wonderful. But as women mature, just as I mature, the waist doesn't quite go in quite the same way. It's kind of more up and down or out, but not exactly what I wanted. Things sag a little different. So not only was my body changing, but my role was changing. I have 2 adult sons that really don't need me to be mom anymore. And I found myself in a transition with my life, going, okay, I've done corporate, I've owned my own business, I was co-owner of a business, I've done network marketing. I'm like, okay, great. Now what? And found that maybe when I was in my early 20s, I was kind of looked over because I looked pretty good. And then I thought, well, now I'm kind of overlooked. Like, oh, well, I've still got it. I mean, I'm not, I thought, geez, we're not walkers and canes, for heaven's sakes. I could do something here. And I just found that everything was shifting so much towards millennials that I thought, well, what about the ageless woman? And to me, ageless is timeless. So, and we had a lot to offer. And I found that what I was going through was so similar to so many women that they're like, well, now I don't know. Do I go back to work? Do I not? Do I want to travel? But I do, and they were in this little transition period for themselves. And really, how do they dress? How do they not? How do they, now that all of a sudden they're going to networking meetings or becoming an entrepreneur and working from home or whatever, and really just didn't know how to express themselves. And I thought, if I can bridge that gap, and my sole purpose is to serve women so that they feel confident and empowered, then I did my job. That's the whole point. So
that's fantastic. Yes. Empowerment is such an important thing for me. I guess that's part of my go-giver mentality now. And as I've come into my ageless woman, for my mindset is I really want to help my goal is to help 1 million lives, to empower 1 million people through touching them, whether it's through the Penny Z show or through the network or in speaking arrangements, being able to find them coaches, just help them to live their best life. And so just having these kind of conversations is so inspiring to me. So I thank you for what you're doing for us and empowering us, not only from our self-confidence perspective, but our external perspective. Because it is true that if we do look good and we feel good, we are more self-confident. And I just remember being in my 20s and 30s, you mentioned, and now looking back, you know, I thought I was overweight and I wasn't pretty and all these things. And I'm like, oh my God, to go back to my 20s and appreciate what I had back there. I obviously appreciate where I'm at now and who I am and who I've become. But a lot of us do. We look back and go, oh, you know, I wish I was 20 again.
Yeah.
And
well,
so,
maybe physically, but mentally, I don't want that 20-year-old brain.
That's true.
I did have something that occurred that, you know, we're not always aware of how we portray ourselves. And just like when I had my design business, I could go into someone's home and I didn't have that personal attachment to their home. So I could move things around and move furniture and say, okay, we're going to set up over here and we're going to do that because I'm looking at it objectively. And I think with ourselves, we do need that objective person to kind of, you know, shed a little light on how we are presenting ourselves. And I remember I think it was after the go whole hog, I'm going for the career and, you know, knock people down as I went, you know, really it was all about me, really. Remember everything that I wore, which was, you know, the suits and the whole deal, everything was to perfection. There was no deviation. Everything was going to look great. And I went on a retreat. And as I'm sitting there, you know, we're just kind of casual. We took off our shoes and kind of sitting by the fireplace and relaxing. And I took off my shoes and I just kind of crossed my legs. And one woman said, oh my gosh, Libby Jason, look at your socks. You have 2 different socks on. And I thought, oh yeah, well, I just grabbed 2 different ones, you know, they're in my shoes, so I didn't care. She goes, I never would have thought you would ever do that. And I thought, well, I'm just like a normal person. I'm just like everybody else. And she said, but no, you always do everything so perfectly. And I thought, no, I don't. But I was giving the impression that everything was perfect and everything was aligned. I thought, listen, I have junk drawers in my house and piles of stuff. And, you know, I have bad hair days too. And I mean, I'll put earrings on going, is it this one or this one? No, I don't know. I'll ask my girlfriend, what do you think? These shoes or the other shoes? I mean, I'm just like everybody else, but I wasn't giving that impression. So I wasn't attracting people that wanted to approach me because they're like, you know, like the beautiful girl that doesn't have a date for a prom. Like nobody asks her because they figure, oh, she doesn't need that. And I thought, well, I need friends too. So it was very eye-opening to me. I had to just let people know, listen, I struggle with the same things you do. I've just learned some skills to work around that. So, yeah.
It's amazing. I completely understand exactly what you're saying and feeling. And that's what this show is about, is being real, relevant, and relatable. And because I don't want people to feel alone, we are kindred spirits and our storyline is so similar.
Yeah.
So I want to let our listeners know to keep listening and to, you know, share your stories and be vulnerable, not with everybody in the world, but
Right.
I think that's something I did the same thing. I mean, you know, am a positive individual by nature. I'm positive, I'm energetic, I'm, you know, fun loving, but I'm also strong and independent. And a lot of people, the way that they have approached me, which I didn't recognize until recently, was I don't need anyone or I don't need help.
Right.
And we all need people and we all
do.
We all need love and support. And so, man, I completely understand what you're saying, Libby, because I've walked, if not in your shoes, at least right beside you many of my journey as well. And I'm sure there's other listeners and people out there that are probably feeling the same thing and connecting with us today. So I'm so excited that you shared your story with me and with the listeners.
Thank you.
I just want to, I want to just kind of highlight a couple things, and then I want to kind of finish off and see if you have any last words. But I mentioned earlier the personal development and how much I agree with you on that. I too find it very, very important to have a gratitude journal. I've mentioned it multiple times with multiple guests. And I think that everyone should have and what I do is I have a journal that's on the side of my bed, and
So's mine.
Yeah, see, I know.
It's right there.
So much alike. I can't wait to meet you in person. But there's, and I just write at least 5 things, for my day that I'm grateful for. And I love that you mentioned journaling. I think that we probably briefly have mentioned it with other guests, but I think that is so empowering and so powerful because it helps you with your awareness, and it helps you with your mindset shift as well. Like
you can process, you can write out maybe what you can't say, you can write.
And it's not that bad things aren't going to happen to you or that you may not get mad or hurt or upset. But I think by journaling and by shifting that thought process, you handle it differently because you're more aware of it. And you're more aware of how you want to handle it or be the kind of person that you want to be in those moments. Have you found any similarities or anything? And I'd like you to just share a little bit about your journaling experience, because I just find that so empowering.
And it's interesting because sometimes they're short, just what am I grateful for today, what I think of today, and other times there's epic novels that I've written. But I had an incident with a family member, and which is always interesting when you're with family, and it was a situation where I came away very hurt and very disappointed. And in my journaling, I'm thinking, okay, what is this really all about? Obviously you're really hurt. So, I had this conversation with myself, my little own personal coach. And I thought, okay, what is it really? Was my expectations. I expected this other person to act or react in a different way, and she didn't, and it was hurtful. So I thought, was I setting myself up, or was it just that I expected her to behave differently and she didn't? And so what? So am I going to let this bother me the whole rest of the day and feel hurt the whole rest of the day? So I acknowledged that I was hurt. It did upset me. Do I want to say something to her? I don't think I ever did, actually, because I think I realized it really wasn't about her. It was just about where I was with it. But if I didn't take that time to kind of write things down and process them, I don't think I would have gotten through it the same way. And I know in my earlier years, I would have gone back to, well, what did I do? Let's see, because I was always trying to make sure I did the right thing, because I didn't want to do the wrong thing, because if I did the wrong thing, then I'd be judged. And if I was judged, then I'd make a mistake and blah, 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 blah. So I didn't want to do that. So I thought, just write it out, write down everything that's going on, let it go. And what was a good thing about it? A good thing about it is that this person is still alive and I care about them very much. And I have a great book to write all my thoughts down, and that was cool. And just move ahead. So
That's
I think
great.
God blessed me with 2 sons, which I am very grateful for, because they get all upset about something and then 10 minutes later, hi, what's for dinner? Guys are over it. Whereas girls, it's, a whole week goes by. So.
That's very true. That's
Yeah.
very true. And, I'm glad you shared more of that because it reminded me when you were saying we try to do the right thing. I
Mhm.
think our expectations, we have to manage our own expectations because other people don't know what it is. And a lot of times we get disappointed because we do have certain expectations. And the other thing that you mentioned was doing the right thing. I feel like a lot of times when we have that front, I guess, and it's not that we're trying to be fake, but maybe it's just a protection wall. So
Right. Yes.
we do that in a way so that we try to avoid looking bad or avoid, I just lost it. We do things because we either want to look good or avoid looking bad.
Right.
And so like you said, you wanted to do the right thing. So in the past you would have done the right thing. Whereas but moving on this time, you wrote in your journal, you realized it was your expectations. You did, internal, you process things internally, and, we're able to just let it go and release it, and that doesn't mean that you wouldn't handle it differently the next time or that you wouldn't have some expectations or set some boundaries, but it was the way that you went through processing that situation, which was different than what you would have done in your past.
Right. And I think you have a really good key point too, is that you do want to process that so it doesn't come back to like as if you're beating yourself up and that it just spirals to, not feeling good about yourself. And so you really do have to get past that. And, it just is what it is, and that's it. So.
Yep. So as we wrap up this edition with Libby, I just wanted to ask her if there's anything that she would like to share with our audience, how she can help you accomplish and work on your empowerment and your self-confidence, any offers that she might have for our listeners, and then how you can get a hold of Libby.
One thing I would offer is to make sure that you try something new, because I find that with a lot of my clients, it's the same old. They're used to a certain thing. They're used to a certain look. I've never done this before. I'm comfortable here, and kind of get into our little, rut, really. And you know what? Try on a pair of the leopard shoes. See how you feel. And, part your hair a little differently, maybe part it on the other side, maybe add bangs. It depends. Obviously, when I work with people, we go a lot more in depth in what is going to be perfect for them. But I just find, just try something different and see how you feel. And there again, do something different, write it down. How do you feel? Do you feel like visible? Do you feel important? Do you feel valued? Is it fun? Is it something that excites you? Is it something you like? So just kind of like, don't be afraid to do that. That's the one thing I would say. An offer that I have for people, if they go on my website, and actually you'll see it in the show notes, is if you go to libbyjason.com/freebie, I have put together a style guide. It's 20 style tips for every age. And they're just little bullet points of things that you can use and tools that you can use for yourself. And I'm very happy to share that. Obviously, my book is on Amazon. And if you are interested in knowing more information about how I can serve you, please reach out and connect with me at libbyjason.com.
Great. Libby, again, I just want to thank you so much. It has been truly a pleasure, and I'm grateful to have you on the show and to share your wisdom with our listeners. So for all of those out there, this is the Penny Z Show. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Please like us, share us, subscribe to us, follow us. We will have all of Libby's information on our website at www.thepennyzshow.com so that you can find Libby that way as well. And I just want to wish everyone a wonderful and empowerment day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you so much for listening. If you want to hear more, including specific ways to empower yourself, go to thepennyzshow.com.